Just a couple of challenges. I have a 4-year-old.
You have a 4-year-old?
It's sort of a general issue of fear. I have a beautiful life, and I feel very lucky. And it's, if I could describe it, I was just describing it to Lee, it would be la 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 la, oi. La 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 la, oi. So they're like bumps in the road. I'd like to work on the ois a little bit to get them out.
But she's given you a wonderful title. He's writing as fast as he can.
There are some occasional ois in her life.
When you work on the ois, then it's oi, 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 oi.
Yeah.
So, and when you work on the la 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 la, then it's la 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 la.
Right.
In other words, you cannot work on the part that you do not want without getting more of the part you do not want.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that. Because there's activation. In other words, so you can activate the la 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 or you can activate the oi. Mm-hmm. Your choice.
Well, obviously I choose to activate the la
yes.
la la.
Yes. You're done.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, there's no way to do this. Oi. I'm really thinking.
Can't get out of our trap.
Stuck.
We've laid it too well.
I've laid the trap. I'm in it.
We have universal.
It's a little painful, but I'll get over it.
We have universal laws behind us.
Yeah. Plane. Fear of flying. I'm so interested in that not being around. I'm interested in that not being an oi, and I don't know how to un-oi this. I don't.
Well, when you have a very strong fear of something, do you think it's better to move forward and do it anyway in the hope that you'll get over it, or do you think it's better to just not do it? Do you think it is better?
I think it's not a good idea to be on a plane when you're thinking not lovely thoughts.
Well, we agree with you, not because that plane will take you down, but because we do not think it is a good idea to subject yourself to any activity that exaggerates the discord within you.
But there's places I need to go. There's people I need to see. I have a big life, and I need to get places.
We talked to a friend the other day about that, where she agreed that there was something that she felt responsible to do, and she also agreed that it was an impossible thing to do. And so she was in a situation where she could not win. And we said to her, which way are you going to give yourself the leeway? In other words, are you going to release yourself from this responsibility? And so when you get into a bind like this, what you're saying to us is, there is something that I absolutely have to do. I have other intentions that make it necessary that I do this. And I have this extreme discomfort when I do this. And so we say, which one of those do you think will be the avenue of least resistance? Where's the crack of least resistance? Does it feel like it would be easier in terms of the scope of your life to never fly again? Or does it feel easier to you in the scope of your life to find ease in flying?
Find ease in flying.
And so now you're reaching for a feeling of ease. So now the way we would go about it is we would begin looking for the positive aspects. We would talk about the speed of it. We would talk about the comfort of it. We would talk about your ability to distract yourself. We would talk about how at first it's uncomfortable and then you sort of get over it. And we would talk about how much of the discomfort happens before, not during.
Turbulence. I picture you standing on the wing and my Nana on the other going, it's okay, you're fine. I mean, that works for about 30 seconds.
Jerry and Esther are not doing much flying these days because they have this monster bus that they're finding to be so satisfying. Different experience from yours. But in the 5 years that they flew nearly every Friday and Monday of their life, Esther does not understand the word turbulence. It never happened on not one flight. They have 500,000 miles on their airline club, not one turbulence. So you say, I could line up with those flights. You could make that a game. Every flight less turbulence than the last. This flight, none at all. It's amazing. I'm zigging and zagging, just like I do in traffic, just like I do in all of the rest of my life. I'm finding myself in perfect vibrational harmony with well-being, the planes I get on, the timing of them, the flight plans they choose.
I could do that.
You can do that.
Sure, I can do that.
You can do
work
that.
on that.
Is that the only thing about it that is uncomfortable to you?
The turbulence. I had a recurring dream 10 years ago that I was. I was sitting in first class, and I very often get to fly first class, and I will now sit in coach, even if I have first class tickets, which is pretty ridiculous, because I had, and this just sort of, I just recently, because of 9/11, I don't
now
sit and think
before you
about
go
this.
further,
Okay.
let's evaluate where this conversation is going, and
Not
before
anywhere
we
good.
even talk about it, let's think about what it might activate, and then let's decide whether we want to go there or not.
You know, what would work for me if you sprinkled like magic fairy dust on me or said, Nancy, you're not going down on a plane, and neither is your daughter, so just get over it. And I would go, okay, and that would be the end of it.
Well, we can give you that assurance unequivocally.
Okay, I'm done with that. That really would work.
If you believe what we know to be, that would work. You are so far from a vibrational match to anything like that.
Yes, it does sound, it seems incongruous to me. I have way too much to do.
Now,
Dying
if you
is
had
just
said
not a
to us,
possibility
my
at this
life
point.
is oi, 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 la,
Yeah,
then we might need to talk.
right. No, the ois are so insignificant. They're just a little annoying.
And so isn't that interesting? You know that.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear confirmation of it, but you know that. You know that your fears are irrational.
Just step my.
You-
I can't breathe though when I get on the plane.
Now,
I know
now what
that.
are we doing?
I'm going
Now
there.
what are we
All
doing?
right, you're right. That's not going to be a problem.
In other words,
anymore. In terms of Kate, and that I've already kind of said something that I wish I didn't say to her about the stranger. I tried to do it in the most positive way. Is there anything I can do now to sort of undo anything? Because she's just filled with joy in life, and now she makes a game out of it. She loves to just say hi to people, and now she says hi, and she goes, "That's okay, Mom. I did that right in front of you." So I've made her. Can I say something now to undo what I did?
well, here's the thing. You cannot generate a vibration in your daughter that isn't present within you at the time. So you have to activate your well-being before you can activate her well-being. So the question is, have you activated enough concern within yourself to cause dominant activation of concern in her? And we say, not even close. In other words, we do not think she would hesitate to say hi to a stranger if you weren't around. In other words, when she's with someone that she hasn't had that conversation with, she does not hold back. In other words, that's who she is. And so first we would like to say to you, you have not activated enough that it is more than an occasional oi in her vibration, but it is worth helping yourself.
Jess said something great to me today that I believe she probably learned from you years ago, and that stuck with me, and I'm going to hold on to that, in that my daughter has such an exuberance, and I call her gusto girl, because she loves life. I can sense that about her, and I do too. So something icky like that, something
Is
horrendous,
not
is not a match.
even close to
So
a
that's
vibrational
what
match. And it's always a little unsettling when we have these conversations about specific children, because then it causes a feeling of discord as you think about other children, because all children are delightful and all children are delicious. Nobody can understand anything that's happening to anybody. In other words, if you are up close like you are to this, and you can feel this, and you know this. When we say, we sniff out this vibration and this thing we know, and you're living right there and you know it, then you understand it. But what goes wrong with so many of you in your understanding of this is that you are getting news reports from people that you have no ability to sniff out their vibration. So you don't understand it. As stories begin to come out, and you begin to hear more and more about what was happening in their life, then more of it begins to make sense to those of you who understand law of attraction. But for the most part, the news media is not interested in helping you to understand why. They want to activate vulnerability within you so you'll watch their newscasts. Just like someone may want to activate vulnerability within you so that you'll buy their product, you see. And so when you understand that, that's not a bad thing. Everyone is doing it, but you just have to make up your mind. What is the reason for this? In other words, if someone, whether it's someone on a television or whether it's someone up close to you, comes up to you and tells you terrible news, you have to stop and ask yourself, what is the motivation here? And it's always one of two things. Either they are wanting deliberately to activate the vibration of vulnerability within me so that then I will want something that they have to offer to soothe it, which is happening all over the place, or they are so active in that vulnerable place themselves that they just can't help themselves. But in either case, it hasn't got anything to do with you. It's their life. It's not your life. It doesn't have anything to do with you. And so just keep reminding yourself of how good your life is and how good Kate's life is and how wonderful everything is around you. And don't get into the place that so often people do when they are excelling and exceeding, succeeding and successing and thriving as dramatically as you. You sometimes feel guilty that you are so far out ahead in terms of joy and well-being than others. And then you start wanting to empathize a little, to normalize a little. And we say, please do not normalize with anything that is less than glorious.
Yes.
Yes.